It's finally here. I got my hands on the S24 series in San Jose, California, just before Unpack 2024. So let's get into the S24, the S24 Plus, and the S24 Ultra's details, the specs, and some of their incredible features. I've got some thoughts, which I'm going to be dropping towards the end of this video. But off the bat, here's everything that you need to know. Sorry about the hallway over here because I am outside the hall. I've just seen the phones. Let's talk about it. The S24, S24 Plus, and the Ultra come in 4 new colorways: titanium gray, violet, yellow, and black. I'm not sure which ones are my favorite, but I'm loving the black and yellow. But to be honest, they're all bangers. Like, even the grays are super slick. Okay, I mean, like, especially the grays, they look really good. From a design perspective, not too much has changed from the S23 and S23 Plus to their S24 counterparts. Both the S24 and S24 Plus have the flat screens without that curve that was seen in the S23 Ultra, a trend that we've seen in a past few S-series versions. The Ultra has moved away from the curve, something that I'm extremely happy about. It's got a flat screen, and I love flat screens. And this works for me so much better because of the S Pen. The S Pen works so much better on a flat screen than it does on a curve. The Ultra is made with titanium, while the base and Plus models are Armor Aluminum 2.0. They all have glass backs with Victus 2 on the S24 and the S24 Plus, while the Ultra has the more durable Gorilla Glass armor on the front. The screens have all had significant improvements. The 2600 nits peak brightness on all 3 is a banger, and 120 FPS adaptive refresh rate across the board, no matter which phone you get. This is hard to see on camera, but incredible to see in person, both the frame rate and the nits. The Plus model has also had a really sneaky upgrade as well. It's got a quad HD screen up from a full HD screen from last year. So there's that little bit of improvement. The batteries on the S24 series should perform a lot better than last year's. The S24 base model has had a battery capacity increase to 4,000 milliamp hours, the Plus to 4,900 milliamp hours, and the Ultra remains at 5,000 milliamp hours. But there should be amazing battery gains on the Ultra because it's got an overclocked Snapdragon Gen 3 processor exclusive to Samsung that's been optimized for battery performance, as well as a new improved vapor chamber to improve all the overall temps, which, you know, saves battery at the end of the day. Under the hood, the S24 base and S24 Plus will have the Exynos 2400, while the S24 Ultra is guaranteed to have the new Snapdragon Gen 3 with the new included NPU, or Neural Processing Unit. That's what that stands for. And that's there for those brand new AI features that we're going to be getting into a little bit later. One of the other things Samsung said that they've improved is the new vapor chamber, which they say is close to double the size of previous devices with an improved thermal interface for heat distribution. Only reviewers are going to be able to tell how effective this is actually going to be, but it's safe to say that they should perform much better on paper than previous years. On the RAM side of things, the S24 base model has 8 gigs of RAM, 128 gigs, or 256 gigs of storage. The Plus has 12 gigs of RAM, 256 gigs, or 512 gigs of storage, and the Ultra has 12 gigs of RAM, 512 gigs of hard drive space, or 1 terabyte. That's the one I want to get, of course. Lenses on the cameras are the same on the base S24 and S24 Plus models from previous years. That doesn't mean that there aren't any improvements, because they're actually quite substantial. And that's all thanks to Samsung's brand new AI and that new processor that they've thrown in. For the first time ever for Samsung, there's no pixel binning. The Snapdragon Gen 3 can process every individual pixel instead of chucking them in batches and processing them like that. That's recognizing and processing 2 million pixels in every single image. You're getting way more detailed and accurate images than you have before. And the Ultra has actually been updated from a 10 times 10 megapixel camera to a new 5 times 50 megapixel camera that can capture up to 8K 30 FPS. The AI photography tools increase the picture quality by adding tweaks with a cognitive recognition engine, a tool that uses the AI to determine the subject and improve the image according to what's being snapped in front of you. This works for both video and photos. They've also nearly doubled the OIS by tying it to the gyroscope in the camera to make the image more stable based on your hand movements that's been detected by the gyroscope. As far as I know, this is the first time that we've seen this in any smartphone ever, so that's really cool. I might just stand under correction with that, so let me know in the comments. And another exciting first is that the Ultra can shoot UHD 120 FPS in Pro mode, which is something only extremely expensive cameras and DSLRs or mirrorless cameras can achieve, which means that this thing is actually a huge content creation powerhouse. The big inclusion this year, and I'm sure the trajectory for all future devices and for Samsung as a whole, is Samsung AI. And what they showed was extremely impressive. The benefit of having that NPU, that neural processing unit, is that a lot of that AI is processed locally on your device for faster results. Not all of it though, so some processors are slower than others, but having that power locally could also open One UI to include features or localize existing cloud tasks at a later date. From a creator, myself, from my perspective, the Samsung AI in the gallery to me is the most impressive feature. So when you open up an image, pressing the info button will reveal AI tasks that can be done to that particular image depending on what the cognitive recognition is detecting. In this particular image demo that they brought up, Galaxy AI automatically selected the subject after we roughly selected around it. You can then rotate, resize, or move it around wherever you'd like to in the image. You can also magically delete objects by crudely circling around them and then deleting them. There's even generative AI that will then fill in the space around the image if we straighten or make it bigger. And that same generative AI will then fill in the blanks of the existing images where you've moved them around. It's extremely impressive and very useful, especially for mobile creatives who use their phones to rapidly produce content, something that it would take you a little while in Photoshop to do, or you'd have to pay for Photoshop to do it. In another example, arguably a less impressive one, you can select a video and tap when you want a slow-mo section of that video. Then when you edit it, the slow-mo slider can be adjusted around where you tapped. The cool thing here is that because it's interpolating frames to make the video slow motion, it can be done to any piece of footage, regardless of the frame rate that you originally shot it in, because previously, if you wanted to slow something down, you'd have to shoot it in a higher frame rate. The caveat here is that it has to be 4K or lower. This makes filming and creating on an S24 a much more agile device and lets you guarantee that you're going to get the shot that you want and use it properly in the edits in the way that you want to, just with any of the shots that you have directly out of the camera. And possibly one of the most important tidbits that I got, one that I think a lot of people aren't going to be talking about, is the fact that after you edit an image using Samsung AI, the Samsung Gallery watermarks that image to let people know that it was manipulated. And it also includes that information in the image's metadata. I think this is a huge move on Samsung's part, like one that's AI conscious in this new artificial intelligence creative wave that's happening right now. And hopefully this is going to address a lot of people's concerns around AI image manipulation and how people perceive like images online, because I think that's like the biggest thing that people are worried about. Another example of Samsung AI that they're shouting about is 2 ways to live translate, one through phone calls and the other through the mic in an in-person conversation. In the phone demo that we saw, you'll have to activate it in the phone settings, and then when you call, for example, a Korean restaurant or booking a flight with a Chinese travel agent, the AI will then live translate with text and voice and let the other person know that there's a translator between the both of you.
Yes, you can make a reservation.
It's a very impressive feature and something that I find like practically extremely useful. The other Live Translate uses the microphone on the device and displays the conversation on the screen in real time in the orientation of the speaker. So both people, if we're standing in real life next to each other, both of us in conversation will know what's being said. Unfortunately, it's only available right now in 13 languages from the start, and really hoping that they're going to be adding a bunch more throughout the year, hopefully some African languages. The AI tools are impressive, but they're hard to demonstrate just how useful they're going to be unless you're using the phone for a while in your workflow and how you use a phone. But as a serious mobile content creator, there are so many no-brainer inclusions that we are going to be pre-ordering an Ultra. It's a bummer that the base and the Plus model only have Exynos 2400s, but we're going to have to wait and see for reviews in order to see how much of a bummer it's actually going to be. Ultimately, it might not look like it on the outside, but this is definitely Samsung's biggest leap internally for years and a trajectory for all smartphone manufacturers to follow. What a way to kick off 2024.